more stupid Saiyan. You honestly think you've won? Your puny mind never could understand. I am Frieza, the most powerful being in the universe. And you are nothing but a beast, a fragile animal! You can't win, because I am mighty, and you are not. Now learn. Learn what happens when you mess with the most powerful being in the universe!
Huh? You fool!
Ridiculous.
What we had?
Right. Do you guys feel as women?
This is crazy.
This tension coming up when you hear this?
Submission.
Garcelle, what? It's that
When
word.
I think of
So tell me
submission,
what you
I
think.
think maybe back in the 50s, in the 40s. But I think what is submissive in the 2020? What is submissive? I think we have to define that. And I think for me, it would never work, right? But I think it really is up to the couple. I think you have to decide what is submissive. Is it cooking everything he wants? Is it having his, bath ready when he comes home? Like, what is it? I think that has to be really redefined, but I'm not down for that. You won't get me to be submissive. There are things that I'll give and take in a relationship, but to be completely submissive.
That's compromise.
Like even the word obey when you're getting married in a marriage vow, you say obey, but are people really doing that these days? It's like, I respect you and I will honor you, but I think the obey and submissiveness is out for me.
I think it's so weird when people try to use the Bible for these sorts of things. I think that gets really weird. Obviously.
No, you know what the thing is that what works for a couple works for a couple.
That's it.
I can't judge them because that works for them. The problem that I have with this whole submission talk is that people will bring it over into real life. There's no way that women,
politics.
I feel women in this country can't have real equality if you have this same old-fashioned, outdated type of thinking.
Right.
Now, in a marriage, that's fine, but if he thinks like that for a woman and she thinks like that for herself, then when they go outside, they're trying to spread it. And that's what you see right now. Yeah. So now you're getting articles about, they should be, women should be submissive. So now you have women that necessarily aren't in relationships questioning, well, should I be that way? Should I do that?
Right.
And that's not true equality for women. So that's the reason why I have a problem with it. What you do in your relationship, that's on you. But don't let it go out to the outside. That's what I'm saying.
I can't help but feel sick when I hear Donald Trump, talking about the First Step Act, but then also telling the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. And I don't get to actually look past that. That impacts my everyday life. I get death threats every single day from people who are listening to this president. And therefore, I don't have any confidence that even in the sense that he implements something like the First Step Act when it's convenient for him and talks mess about it when it's not, I don't have any confidence that the amount of power has been built actually to get these things done. I don't fault you for trying to move an agenda, but I don't think we can take any shortcuts here. And I certainly don't think we can jump the line. And, you know, it would be one thing if people actually weren't working on this every day. Imagine what we could do together, Cube, if I had access to a platform
Hold on.
But I don't have access.
Hold on, Alicia.
I hear you.
Alicia, I know Cube has to go, but Cube, go.
This
Go ahead.
contract been out for months, so there's been, you know, if anybody wanted to work with me, I've been open invitation from day one to work together, make the platform better, and you know, nobody has, or very few have come out to do that. So, you know, I'm not gonna wait to get nobody's line. You know, if I feel like I could speak for Black people, I'm gonna go speak for Black people to whoever. And you know, you have a plan for Biden win, but what's your plan if Trump wins? You know, you have to have a plan for either president, and so in either administration. We can't just go dormant, because this is the problem I think that's been happening with us. You know, we go dormant. We don't push both parties hard to do what needs to be done, what's right. And, you know, some people got a whole country to run. We don't have a whole country to run. Black people in a bad situation. We don't have a pot to piss in. We ain't even really in the damn equation when you really look at it. We just get to show up and we get to go home still broke. And unless you have capital in America, you're not gonna be really involved in what's going on in America when it comes to running the whole country. So we gotta look after Black people and figure out how to get money in the hands of families and in this country, into businesses that went down. We gotta figure out how to get a lot of capital into those hands.
So can we do this here then? Can we do this? You care about Black people, Cube. I've known Alicia as well. She cares about Black people. So can we, again, as opposed to, you know, different pieces here, this is where I think Black folks come together and say, look, we're going to sit down and talk. We're going to rap. Your number, my number, your email, my email. Let's do that.
I'm more than welcome. Anytime. I'm willing and open. Anybody who's down to help Black people get what we're supposed to get in this country through hell or high water, I'm with them.
Alicia?
Listen, I'm always ready and have been working for 20 years to improve the conditions of Black folks. And like I said, if we had access to a platform like you have, Cube, I bet you we could have gotten a lot farther. So I look forward to working with you.
I care about what's in this contract with Black America for women, and it's not, we're not mentioned at all in the contract with Black America. And
you are mentioned. I mean, when you mention Black people, you mentioning Black women. So don't count yourself out. Yes,
that's not true. That's like administration say that when they
Black people is not Black women.
Black
women are not included in Black people.
No, it is. But that's like, you know, that's like you saying. That's like when the president says minorities, then he's including Black people. But we all know that that's not the case. Black women have specific needs that are not also being met. And we also feel that there should be some things that are specific to us and our plight as well. And I
understand that.
I feel like as a Black man, you can lead.
No,
I feel like
I just offered y'all to write a section up for it. I just said I don't mind if you guys help us. You guys help us write a section. No, I've been open to all kind of experts in putting this together. It wasn't just me. We dealt with experts in all fields of this contract with Black America. So we're willing to deal with experts in the section when it comes to women. So that's no problem.
Okay,
I'll help you write it. I'll help you write it.
Say you do get the money. How soon do you think your plan is going to go into effect? When will we start seeing the benefits?
I'm not getting 1 quarter. Okay,
But,
this is
no.
something he's promising.
I said
this is something he's promising to the country, and he's gonna have to implement it in a way he feel that can fit.
Okay, but can I just ask though? What would you see this plan doing for the first year for us if he's reelected?
I'm not part of the administration.
Well,
I'm here for Black people. I'm here to talk to both administrations about the contract with Black America. The Platinum Plan is not mine. Didn't name it. Didn't put it together. All I did was meet about the contract with Black America. They added some things, and I'm willing to meet with both sides. They can add some things or not. It's fine.
And then, they ran off immediately and did statements that you're basically a Republican now.
We're going to need a team of our people.
That's on them. That ain't on me.
Okay.
That's on them. That's not on me.
I just want to make sure. We just want clarity.
We can't all talk at the same time. I have to wrap the show. We're way over, but I just want to say, Cube, I hear what you're saying, but I just want you to know, as Black women, how we would feel with there's no mention specifically of Black women in the contract with Black America. They do have to
stand on top of that. I just told you can write that up if you want
it's
to.
We're not out here jumping on calls.
We all Black, so we all.
We're not meeting up with Jared Kushner and Donald Trump about this. You are. So you can't say, well, if you don't like it, add to it. You're out here. You took that job. You took that position to lead this. So don't say
I'll write up the Black woman's part of the contract for you.
Good.
How many words do y'all want it to be? The thing is, you guys are the experts, but here we go again. You just want to talk. Nobody want to help me. Just want to talk. But y'all the experts on Black women, so why won't y'all help me? See, that's the problem.
I can tell you why.
You just let me know.
Party. So anyway,
the initiatives have already been set. So
I wish listen, you guys, we are way over. We're way over. I wish we.
I told my kids on the school walkout, I love you. If you walk out that school, walk out my house.
I'm laughing, but it's so serious.
That's simple. We are a gun-owning family. Yeah. We are a family where my sister farms. We're a family where we'll fish, we'll hunt, but we are not a family that jumps on every single thing an ally of ours does, because some stuff we just don't agree with. You're not woke. Wakanda, everybody had guns, and spears, and everything else you needed.
There were no guns in Wakanda. After garnering criticism, including from me, for that interview on NRA TV, which the NRA posted on the same day of the March for Our Lives rally, rapper Killer Mike issued a video apology and clarification of his intent. Fast forward a little over a week, and he and I wound up in a little bit of a social media dust-up, which started on Instagram with Mike's comment about this glam squad photo in which I referenced H&M, hair and makeup. Mike responded with a criticism of me purportedly promoting a different H&M, the clothing company that caused an uproar for advertising a coolest monkey in the jungle sweatshirt on a little Black boy, not smart, asking why his NRA interview was worse than that. I responded to that, and Twitter took it from there. You know how it goes. It's all a misunderstanding. Well, we decided that even social media beef can create an opportunity for dialogue, and there are much bigger issues at stake than my glam pics. And so Michael Render, publicly known as rapper Killer Mike, is here to discuss those issues. And you know we hooked up your H&M this morning to make you look cute. So great to see you.
Yes, you did. It is so good to see you. And let me say, because I'm raised a Southern man by my grandparents, that I'm obligated to say, as I've already said on social media, but I want the public to know it, because if you do it in private, you ought to be able to do it in public. I sincerely apologize for the quick judgment and the coarse language that I use that I feel is appropriate at Black barbecues, like Steve Harvey said, it's our word now, but I shouldn't have used in criticism of us, because it wasn't at you as much as of us, because my fear and impulse was driven by my ego, and our egos can become our masters. So I'm very sorry, because I jumped to a conclusion and I used coarse language with someone who I admire, I respect, I'm a fan of, and if my grandmother would have live, would have called me and said, Michael, you wrong.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. And you've been very gracious, Mike, you know, in talking about this. And, you know, and these things can get taken a life of their own, right, because of social media.
Absolutely.
So I do appreciate that. And I feel like the bigger picture here was, I think for both of us, the bigger picture. My criticism of you and the video you did, your criticism of me, really goes back, I think, to the March for Our Lives. And I just want to, just for your background, give you some background on why I had such a strong reaction to you doing that interview, which of course you did before, and then they posted on that day. The morning that your video was posted, that Coleon Noir is what he calls himself, but his real name is Collins Ayara Idehan. He's a lawyer. The day that they posted that video and that you started trending for that, they also posted like a series of tweets at me. So let's do E6 first. They posted this series of tweets with him tagged in it or him forwarding them that were really like kind of inflammatory, you know, going after David Hogg, going after the Reverend Al, talking about rape is a real thing, saying they only want to hear from black people who agree with them. And then let's play this video. And this is E2 from my reporters. That was the one that really got to me that morning. Take a look.
For Sunday's Aren't you playing games? Why are you watching TV?
I'm playing AFK Arena. I can't.
Joy Reid, you can go stick it. We are on to you, and we will be watching. Every time you lay out a ridiculous tweet like that, I will be calling you out. You can bet on it.
Tell them, please, how you feel about you have to deal with the reality of rape and how you don't want to be disarmed dealing with it.
Rape is a real thing. Being mugged is a real thing.
I mean, you know, Mike, for me, when an organization that's all about guns starts tweeting out, we're watching you, I take that as a threat, honestly. Maybe it was because they had already done the hourglass thing. But do you recognize sort of the sense that a lot of us out here have that the NRA is actually low-key threatening, particularly to people of color?
I think that we have been threatened as people of color since we're brought here. I sat down with Colin not to promote the NRA, but to promote a conversation that's being left out of the national gun conversation. And that conversation is black gun ownership. You know, Frederick Douglass said, and I quote, in 1867, a man's rights rest in three boxes. They rest in the ballot box, the juror's box, and they rest in the cartridge box. And then, to prove himself far more progressive than his time, he said, and no man should be restricted from the ballot box by color and no woman by sex. 100 years later, in 1967, we caught up and got that progressive. And I say that just to say that my original conversation, and the reason I even appeared today, besides that I should apologize for my sister and someone I admire for using coarse language, is this, is to simply say African-American gun ownership in this country has always been used as a defensive mechanism. We've not organized militias and went out and hunted. We've not sought to kill people. We've only sought to do what Ida B. Wells said, and having a Winchester in the home should be an honored place in every black home, defending ourselves against lynchings, torture, murder, brutalization. I'm sorry that an organization like the NRA has sunk to levels of all of us. All of us have become very petty. What I did was petty. It could be argued what other people from the left and right did was petty. I got threats to my life in my DM, so I can imagine what you've got. I'm just here to say to African Americans, the conversation that we need to be having, besides who our enemies are what are the rights that we have that we're going to invoke? Are we going to invite more law enforcement into our life? Because if more gun laws pass in a blanket way, more police are in schools, those police are going to interact with our children more. We've seen in the last 2 years black girls be slammed to the ground by police in classrooms and at pool parties. That's going to increase because our children are, by the narrative of the media, more hostile and aggressive. Black men, you're more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD as a child, a misdiagnosis. This may keep you out of legal, legitimate gun ownership when you're a responsible father of 3 and have a mother and you're living in the community. So for me, as deplorable as acts that I've seen as both sides, people who are pro and not pro-gun, my bigger conversation, Joy, is the conversation that we're having about where do African Americans fit in that. I'm sorry that that happened to you. I'm sorry that I give death threats and have to walk around with a bodyguard. But I feel better that I live in a republic where people only 54 years into freedom are allowed to practice the Second Amendment right and protect themselves if need be.
And you know, I think, and I actually agree with everything you just said. I mean, I covered the case in Sanford, Florida, the George Zimmerman shooting of Trayvon Martin, and I remember going over to the Goldsboro district, which I'm sure you know the story, where, you know, the black citizens of Goldsboro used to have to defend themselves with shotguns because the Klan kept coming over the railroad line. But, you know, I'm struck by the fact that the NRA has never been on the side that you just mentioned. I mean, in 1967, they supported the Mulford Act, which was Reagan trying to disarm the Black Panthers. When Philando Castile, who was a lawful gun owner, was shot dead by a police officer while he's in his car doing the right thing, saying he had that gun, the NRA was completely silent, including your friend Colin. He never said anything.
As I watched Philando Castile dying in that car, I watched myself die, and it evoked every emotion in my body. I didn't want to ask questions. I didn't care what happened before the video started recording. All I knew was that I was watching a man struggle for his life and then die in front of his family and the entire world. But as a lawyer, I've learned to wait for all the evidence before rushing to judgment, because emotions can blind you and rob you of impartiality. However, the shit I'm seeing in the mainstream media on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter about how the NRA doesn't care about black gun owners because they haven't said anything about Philando is so disingenuous, it's sad. Philando Castile was a 32-year-old black man with a concealed carry license who was stopped for a broken taillight. I'm a 32-year-old black man with a concealed carry license, and I was stopped 2 weeks ago. The NRA doesn't need to make a statement about Philando because they gave him his own show. I've been fighting for gun rights under the NRA brand for years. Y'all just got here. Before I arrived, you said the NRA doesn't have a large black membership because they don't try to reach out to black people. But when the NRA makes me an NRA commentator, socially inept morons like Russell Simmons move the goalposts and say, oh, but we don't believe you. Coleon Noir, you're just being used. Then I got my own show under the NRA brand, where I had countless black people, gay people, hippies, whites, Mexicans, Asians, you name it, but still you deflect again and say, now the NRA is just pandering, and call me a coon and Uncle Tom when I'm fighting for the same damn rights that Martin Luther King, Huey P. Newton, and Malcolm X fought for. If any organization acts in a racist manner towards my gun rights, it's you, the national news media. You call the NRA racist, while in the same breath telling blacks like me that we shouldn't own guns because we can't be trusted to not just kill each other. Name one thing the NRA does to make it harder for black people to access their Second Amendment rights. Go ahead, name one. You can't, because unlike you, the NRA actually fights for my rights. Just like it fought for Shaneen Allen, Josephine Byrd, Otis McDonald, all of them. But no one knows who I'm talking about because you ignored those stories the same way you try to ignore me now. The Democratic Party invented gun control after slavery to keep guns out of the hands of black people, and they haven't stopped since. But you don't tell that story either. Then you have the ultimate troller, Don Lemon, attacking Mark Hughes, the young black man who exercised his right to open carry a rifle at the Dallas protest rally for the victimization of black people, asking why he would want those rights. You people fan the flames of racism to sell this tension to your sponsors, and then you can't figure out why black people all over America are legally arming up? And you do everything you can to ignore that story. And by the way, where are the facts on Philando Castile's death? Instead of calling NRA racist for not commenting on it, how about you do your job and go find the facts so we can actually have a rational, honest dialogue in this country? Oh wait, that doesn't help you sell ad space though. This is sad, man. You want this division. You need the hate. You need a villain. Where were you over the 4th in Chicago when 4 people died and 51 were wounded? Nowhere, because that story was utterly predictable. Everyone in the city knew people would die that weekend. The only question was the numbers. How many innocent black people would be alive today if we applied the same level of justice to inner city hellholes that we demand in our lily white suburbs? No one knows. And that must be the way you cowards in the media want it. Job, so I'm coming home late at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning by myself. I'm getting paid in cash. People know I'm getting paid in cash. So now I have to get on the bus and then have to get off the bus at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and then walk home in a bad, shitty neighborhood, knowing that people know that I have cash on me? Come on, man.
There's a reason why in Chicago now we're seeing a record number of minorities inside the most violent neighborhoods applying for their concealed carry permits to finally try and put an end to criminals running their streets.
Why would you limit someone's ability to protect themselves in that environment? I just don't get it.
In 2010, when the Second Amendment was finally incorporated to the states, as was the intention of the 14th Amendment in the mid-1860s, it was a black man, Otis McDonald, who brought the case.
There were so many people in the city, so many people in the state that's being victimized by gun laws that only apply to the law-abiding citizens. How can that be right? It can't be right.
A great guy. I consider him one of my personal heroes. You know, someone who lived in an urban environment. In his case, we're talking about the city of Chicago. You know, he's been there for a while and was a fixture. And he just realized that it was not safe.
McDonald says his neighborhood has changed, more crime. He's been broken into 3 times, and he's long since concluded that the gun ban is a bust.
The gangbangers and drug dealers were taking over my neighborhood. They were taking over me, literally, and I was being threatened.
I live in a bad environment. I want a gun to protect myself. But the laws in this place won't let me do that.
And he had to fight Lisa Madigan and everybody else in Chicago for that right to do it. He's a civil rights hero, and he gets none of the accolades for being such.
Like, we had to go to court for that. Like, we had to go to the Supreme Court to let somebody own a gun in their own house to protect themselves because they live in a bad environment. That had to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Where in the world does that make any sense?
The racist roots of gun control have been so well hidden by the mass media and public education system that you've probably never heard any of that before. But it's the truth. The tender-hearted do-gooders of the contemporary movement are still serving that same racist end. This isn't a minor, uncomfortable truth about American gun control. It's the one fact that discredits the movement entirely.